Hey, everybody. This week, we're going to be looking at two robberies with two very different outcomes. Sometimes I get way too close to this information. Like I'll look at something and I won't think like it's that big a deal, or, I guess my years of doing it kind of makes it a little hard for me to objectively choose information that I think would be relevant for most of you. And that's why it's been great to bring Connor in. As he's been able to kind of search around the internet, look at things, and anything that catches his eye as kind of like, an average person going through their life and seeing an event and just asking questions. He's been able to kind of identify those, and he's done an amazing job at it, and picked out some really good stuff for us to take a look at. So, Connor, why don't you go ahead and set up what we're going to look at today?
So today we're going to look at two different robbery situations where they're pretty similar, but they had different results. And the reason I think this is really important is because I feel like the average person has a problem when it comes to understanding when you have a choice and when you don't have a choice with violence. So this first one actually made national headlines. It was an NFL player. He was a first-round draft pick for the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers. And absolute stud. When you're a first round draft pick, these programs invest a lot in you and believe you're going to be the future at that position they draft you at. So this guy had the whole world looking ahead of him, and you'll see in the situation, we'll explain it more, like what happened exactly. But you'll just see he was shopping in San Francisco and not thinking a thing in the world, and situation turned almost deadly. So I want to kind of show what these robberies were like, and so you can see the difference between when you have a choice and when you don't have a choice. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this first video so you can get some background. The second video has CCTV footage to show you exactly what, my dad will talk about here. But this one just they don't have actual CCTV footage on this, but they have it. They have the whole story here. So here it is.
24 hours later, he's released from the hospital. Now, lots of people across America are wondering, how is that even possible? 23-year-old Ricky Pearsall was a first-round pick by the San Francisco 49ers in the 2024 NFL Draft. Over the Labor Day weekend, he was shopping in a swanky section of San Francisco when a robber came out of nowhere and tried to steal his expensive Rolex watch. The gunman opened fire during the struggle, and Pearsall was shot in the chest. It's nothing short of a miracle he's still alive. The bullet hit his chest and did what doctors call a through and through. It went straight through his chest, out his back, miraculously missing his vital organs.
It missed his heart, it missed the large blood vessels in the chest cavity, it missed his lungs as well as his spinal cord. And you could say it was a 1 in a million shot to miss all those.
His mother says on Facebook, God shielded him. Thanks be to God it missed his vital organs. Dr. Thomas Yadiker says that being in tip-top shape helped Pearsall tolerate a certain level of trauma. Rolex watches are frequently targeted by robbers. Jason Oppenheim, star of the reality show Selling Sunset, says he no longer wears the brand after he saw surveillance video of a guy getting mugged for his watch in the parking lot near Oppenheim's office.
Quite honestly, I think you're crazy just to wear anything nice these days.
No watches.
As for Ricky Pearsall,
I think it's safe to say that Ricky has won the lottery twice already. Once by making it into the NFL, and the second by getting shot in the chest and being able to walk out of the hospital the very next day.
So I wanted to show that because when you look at stuff like that, people look at the story aspect of it, the victim mentality. And so that's something you preach, is take the story out of it. And so I kind of give you a breakdown of what you thought with that video.
So I know you know a little bit more about this. So tell me this. What happened in the exchange? How did he get shot? Did he get shot because he resisted? Or, what was the issue?
So the reports I read, they kept using the word struggle. So what I think happened was the individual threatened him saying, hey, give me your Rolex. And he just said, no, you can't have it. And then they got into a struggle, which is the word they used. And so then I think the robber was like, oh, got scared probably. And I mean, this is an NFL player. This guy's a big dude. It's not like he's a small guy. So he pulled out a gun and shot him in the chest.
Yeah, I mean, and the through and through is like a miracle. Those are incredible. So I mean, he got his one pass. So let's go to the second story first. The second story is a regular person, basically, yeah, he's known, he's a reality star, but he's basically, a regular guy who's looking at the news, And we've known in Orange County and in nicer parts of LA, this has been happening for quite a while. Ever since COVID, and he took preventative action. The one thing nobody wants to hear is, why should I not be able to wear whatever I need to be able to wear? It's my stuff. I should do this. Yes, in a real world, that would be great. But again, I have to prepare people for the world that we're living in right now. So his preventative action was really interesting. He takes away anything that would be seen as attracting attention to him, an easy shot for a predator. Now, the NFL guy was wearing it, and no problem with that. He wore it. But again, when you have physical prowess, especially when you're a younger guy, remember, you think you're invincible. And, I remember being very well trained. Obviously, I've been very well trained in hand-to-hand combat for quite some time. And I took unnecessary risks when I was a younger guy, because I knew my skill sets and I assessed the situation. And when I did not have to use or respond with violence, I chose to struggle. It worked out okay for me, but I was lucky. I mean, let's just be honest. There are many situations that could have gone horribly wrong for me. Him in this situation, he probably, he's a young kid. He's probably, hasn't had much money. And now, he's in the NFL and he's got this great signing bonus and everything. He probably got the watch as a, as a celebration of his signing. So it probably meant a lot to him. But you have to divorce yourself from that. What does it mean? What does it mean? What are you giving your life up for? That's literally what he did when he struggled with the watch at that point. If somebody's putting a gun on you, you have to assume they're willing to use it. And he could have just given over the watch. That was just it. Just give him the watch, no resistance, go for it. And then, you get your insurance money. I'm sure he probably had insurance for it. Or you just take it as a lesson that, hey, I learned a really valuable lesson. I remember years ago, this is going back like 30, 35 years ago, when the Raiders came to LA for the first time, and they won the Super Bowl. I think the first year they were there, they won the Super Bowl. And that Super Bowl team, one of the guys on there, a very famous guy, that you guys all know him as an announcer, but it was Howie Long. And Howie Long, he's a Fox announcer for football. He's a big dude. I mean, even at his age now, he's still a big dude. Back then, he was a monster. And he talked about coming out of practice from the LA stadium, the LA Coliseum, which isn't the best part of town. I went to USC, and it's right by there. And he had a big Rolex on. And when he came out, 4 or 5 guys were there, and they looked like they were probably gang members. And they first were happy to see him. They were like, "Oh, Howie, how you doing?" And then it got a little uncomfortable when they asked him about the watch. And Howie, being a quick thinker, basically said, "Oh, because you guys think I'm crazy enough to wear a real Rolex here? I mean, come on, I got this for, $40 over on Figueroa, which is a street right up the street where you can buy a bunch of, phony stuff." And he kind of played it off that way, and the guys let him pass. And that was the last time he wore anything, over to the game areas and the practice areas that was of value. And he even drove, I think he even drove a lesser car too. I think he just drove like a truck or something, but he didn't drive anything fancy there because he was preventative that way. This kid's young. He got a huge lesson with the through and through shot. He's still able to operate. He will recover for it and probably be 100% when he gets back on the field finally. And he should take this as just an understanding that, violence is a last resort. Things are not worth your life. It doesn't mean that you just, you're just giving it up. It's just, look at the situation. The guy has a drop on you and he has a gun on you. And he's asking you specifically for a piece of jewelry that you have. We preach that give him the jewelry, give him the watch, give him everything. Just don't give him your life. If there's any chance where it looks like he is going to use violence, then of course you have to respond immediately with violence. But there's this dance that you have to understand, that when you're in a situation, would he have been shot if he gave over the watch? It's not 100% sure, but pretty likely that would have, based on the way these robberies have been going down. They're not trying initially to, shoot people. They're really only doing violence against people that are really resisting. You know, they'll knock them to the ground, they'll do something that way and pull it off of them. That violence will happen, but they're not trying to leave them dead or killed or anything like that. So again, it's, you know, the whole idea of being preventative. We know this is going on. Therefore, how can we minimize the chance of becoming a target? And like the real estate guy did, he figured it out. He understands. He goes, hey, listen, he's a smaller man. He doesn't have the fighting skills or the athletic skills that any of these people have. So he's being smart about his life. And he's just saying, hey, I'm just going to be really careful with what I put out there right now because of the environment. It's just not safe for me to be wearing really nice stuff. And also, imagine if you're with people, you know, imagine if you're with somebody you care about, they could get hurt. I mean, that's just in his situation. I don't know if he was with anybody, but, you know, that shot could have gone off and hit somebody in his crew or somebody there. There's just so many variables that you have to think about with situations like that. But again, this is the type of thinking that you have to do ahead of time, and this is the type of training you need to have ahead of time. Oftentimes people think when you're doing self-defense training, it's all about punching, kicking, and the physical aspect of things. You know, in our situation, yes, we will start you there because we want you to know what it takes. If you ignore everything else and you have to use violence against somebody, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what you have to do to somebody. And then we walk it back and we say, hey, what are all the things you're doing in your life where you're making yourself more prone to have these things happen to you? You know, and let's change our behavior. And that's the main thing, is just, you know, making sure that you minimize the chance. Now, the real estate guy, without having anything happen to him, did just that. He saw the situation and he altered behavior. That's a super healthy response. And that's the one I would like most of my people to be able to look at. Yes. Is it unfair? Yes. Should there be better crime prevention? Yes. All those things are true, but doesn't stop the reality of it's happening now. And therefore you have to deal with what's happening now.
And I think the really important part that you forgot to mention in that is that Real Estate Agent is your favorite TV show, Selling Sunset.
Greatest.
I don't think you let the audience
ever.
know that I know that's your favorite TV show. You acting like you don't know him. You know exactly who that guy is.
No, I know who he is.
But on all seriousness, I grew up in that area.
Like him.
You know, I went to college in that area, Chapman University. I went to I was in Corona Del Mar. That's where their offices are held. That's like one of the nicest places in the nation. And the fact that it's happening there, it's like nowhere safe. So he's doing something really smart and just being preventative and not wearing the watch. Now, this next video that I want to show you, you know, there are going to be situations where you do wear the nice thing, you know, and you just, you know, you're going to a nice dinner, something like that. You wear that watch, you wear that necklace, whatever it is. And so I just wanted, I found a video that I think is probably similar to what might have happened here. And so I want to show you what this person decided to do instead.
Okay. Okay, so see, this is a perfect example of somebody who understands what's going on. His reaction alone tells me that he understands what is going on here, that he has to get off everything that this guy wants, and he understands not to resist. He understands the guy has the drop on him. That's a serious weapon that the guy has. But you'll notice that he is just watch him. He just wants the items, and then he wants to get the hell out of there. And this guy knew it, and so he made sure that he expedited it and gave him everything. He didn't sit there and resist him. You know, it sucks. I'm sure he didn't feel great about it later, but he's got his life. See how he kind of throws his hands up and just walks away, you know, and it's over. So yeah, there's different ways of handling this. A lot of people probably look at this and say, oh, gee, you know, he just gave him everything. Well, yeah, he did. You know, the guy got the drop on him. And that's just it. You know, sometimes we don't get to dictate how things happen, but we can dictate what our responses are. And this guy's response for this particular situation was spot on. He didn't waste any time. He didn't try to justify anything. He didn't try to say, oh, this is my favorite watch, or my mom gave me this, or he did nothing. He realized what the situation was, and he quickly got rid of stuff as the guy grabbed the satchel over him as well and just took off. So again, much smarter way to handle something like that when you have somebody that has the drop on you, because the vast majority of these people just want the items. If they wanted to just, you know, grab it from you, they just shoot you and do it. but they don't do that. This guy's running up and just, they don't initially want to shoot you, or they would. Therefore, there's an opportunity here to just, disengage and give them what they want, and then, deal with it later.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got. Any final thoughts here?
Yeah, this is not the question. Everyone wants to hear the heroic story of, like, here's a special move you do when a guy pulls a gun on you or anything like that. That's really not it. That's not the way you look at life. There are going to be times where somebody gets a drop on you. It's just a reality. And in this situation, the drop that's getting on you is they get in front of you, they put a weapon on you, and they demand your stuff. And if it's got that far and you don't have a viable exit on any way, shape, or form, then yeah, comply. Give them what they want. Paying attention the whole time, though. If anything switches where you think, holy shit, this guy's going to shoot me, it doesn't matter, then obviously, you use what we give in training, and you best know how to go after somebody that has a weapon on you, especially that close. There are lots of opportunities. But again, if you don't have to do that, you don't want to do that. So this was great. This is a really good thing. I hope the NFL kid, I hope he really has learned his lesson. I hope he has a great career ahead of him. This looks like a really good kid. I know his mom's really happy he's alive, and that's just it. That's what you got to think about. I mean, your life's too important. It's not worth a Rolex watch. And I hope everybody gets the right message out of what we just gave, because this can be critical for you. This can absolutely, do everything and change everything in your life. Luckily, I'm just going to go one more with this. When I was 19 years old, I had a really, really nice bike at USC, and I lived off campus. I rode my bike up. I put it up on the porch. I went inside to grab a phone that was ringing, and as I was taking the phone call, I heard somebody up on my porch grabbing something, and I realized it was my bike. And by the time I got out there, I hung the phone up and ran outside. These two guys were running away with my bike. They just took off, and they had my bike, and they had a really big lead on me. And instinctively, I just ran right after them. And I was running. Now, anybody that knows USC, you've got the campus, which is pretty nice, but then 1 or 2 blocks either way, it's like that movie Training Day. I mean, you're in gang-infested territory, and it's very dangerous. Well, I remember chasing these guys like a block and a half into this neighborhood. And then everything, it was like just every nonverbal communication happened to my body to just freeze me and stop me. And I remember sitting there, and I remember looking at them, and they were about another block ahead of me, and they stopped and they looked back at me. And it was more like this recognition, like, hey, dude, you're entering a world you know nothing about. This is our area, and things are going to go horribly bad for you if you keep, coming this way. And I understood that. I inherently understood that. Took a deep breath, turned around, I walked back, and I realized that my life was not worth my bike. And, that stayed with me ever since I was 19 years old. So I've never had this, this desire to protect stuff when you have situations like this happen. I realized, hey, I actually had renter's insurance that I was able to use and get money for my bike. And I lucked out. I totally forgot that I had renter's insurance. But think if I hadn't. Think if I had done that and got in, I probably really would have got seriously injured, if not killed, especially back in those days. It was pretty bad. So again, guys, you just have to recognize, oftentimes we get into the self-defense world and this, and you get into the macho stuff, and you think, oh, everything's a fight, everything's me conquering the other guy. That's not the case at all. It's being smart, and the game plan is to make sure that you minimize the chance of violence coming in your life, and that you do things to make sure that that you comply when you need to, because the greater good is you get to live your life.
That's awesome. And then to go even more, if you're interested in going more in depth on this, we have a free report that goes into pretty much, it's 11 modules, and it basically talks about exactly what we're talking about right now. And it's completely free. Go to surviveviolence.com, and it's an awesome report. I mean, people would pay a lot of money to have that report, so completely free.
People really like it, and just all you got to do is give us your email. It gets to you right away. And again, the reason I created it is because if you like this subject matter, I give you 11 modules that take you through this subject and lots of other subjects when it comes to your own self-protection. So please don't hesitate. We don't sell any information. We don't sell your information. It's just private. But get this right away because it'll really make a huge difference in your life on how you look at yourself and self-protection.
Well, until next time.
Stay safe, guys.